What's going on, guys? Before we get into the main portion of this video, I just want to give a big shout out to Shadow's Edge, who is the sponsor of today's video. Shadow's Edge is a mobile mental health game designed to help you get through whatever difficulties you're facing in life. And since the last time I've worked with Shadow's Edge on my other channel, they've been doing a lot of cool new things. They've been working with a lot of young people in the cities of Soacha and Pereira in Colombia. With these people, they've been developing a whole new storyline for the game and even a new character, Shadow, that you can interact with and discover as you continue to go through the game and do your own personal storyline. So the story of the game is this. A terrible storm has hit the city of Shadow's Edge, and only you can save Shadow's Edge and defeat the shadow looming over the city. You could do this by spray painting graffiti over the walls and billboards around the city, finding lost journal pages throughout the game, and battling it out with the shadow. The more you express yourself, the more tools you get to defeat the shadow, including art supplies like stencils, stickers, and colors. So now, not only is there the pigeon, which was a staple of Shadow's Edge, giving you wisdom throughout the game, but they've added a new cute little cat who hopes you better your art skills as you play as well. The game is super relaxing to play and it has a really nice soundtrack as well. And since they've re-released the game, working with all these folks in Colombia, they've worked with a musician in Colombia as well named Marlon. You can actually find all the music that he made for the game on a Spotify playlist. You can find that through the main menu of the game. Especially if you maybe like listening to music when you take photos, that could be something really nice and relaxing to put on in the background, get you in like a flow creative state whenever you're taking photos. Shadow's Edge is a game based on the concept of narrative therapy. It was made with the help of psychologists, child life specialists, and other mental health professionals. You can find Shadow's Edge on the App Store or Google Play Store, and it's 100% free. There's no subscriptions or in-app purchases, anything like that, no ads. So you can enjoy that 100% ad-free, and it's also available in 6 different languages. So if you're not a native English speaker, then maybe they have your language available in the game. So that's really cool. Thank you so much to Shadow's Edge once more for sponsoring this video. I hope to work with you again in the future, and let's get into the main topic of this video. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Matt back with another video. I just want to talk a little bit today about my favorite camera in the whole world, the Fujifilm X-T3, which I do believe is probably the best value camera that you can really put your money towards if you're looking to be a professional, especially like who does photo and video. The X-T3 is a really great stepping stone into the Fuji system to do professional work, and you could do basically anything with this camera. That's what's so great about it. But now that the Fujifilm X-H2 and the X-H2S are out, and obviously those are like $2,500, you can get the X-T3 for, if you find a good deal on it, probably $700 or $800, so significantly less. This can be a really good stepping stone into the Fujifilm system if you want to work your way towards getting a Fujifilm X-H2 or an X-H2S. Maybe if you don't have $2.5 grand up front to invest in that, you can start with something like an X-T3 and be able to, deliver professional quality work to if you have paying clients at that point, and work your way towards that. And I think that's what my plan will eventually be. But right now I find that the X-T3 is perfect for everything to do with my personal photography and my professional photography and videography. I use this camera for everything. This is basically how I make my money. I'm still a full-time college student, so I don't make like an entire full living with it yet, but I'm working my way towards that. I'm trying to build a client base, and it wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have this camera. The main thing that people complain about with the Fujifilm X-T3 is they say that the autofocus is not good enough. And if that's what you can afford, the autofocus, trust me, it's good enough. People are willing to pay for what this camera can produce. Obviously, you need to know what you're doing as the person operating the camera. But my point is that this tool, without having to spend 2 times as much money or more, this tool can get you everything that you need to actually get paying clients. I work with car companies regularly. I work with a medical marijuana company pretty regularly. Those are my 2 most recurring clients, but then I also do portraiture with this. I've shot a wedding with this. I shot music videos with this. I've just shot commercials for a clothing company with this, and done you know, any kind of photo you can think of, whether it's a studio or an event or live music or landscapes or or architecture or real estate, all these different things I've done with this. And you know, I'm gonna hate myself as an editor for having to splice in all of those different things that I mentioned, but my point stands that you could do anything with this camera, and you don't even need to spend more than $1,000 now that it's gone down in price, especially if you're buying your first camera. If you're trying to maybe figure out if you want to do photography or videography, you know, most people generally spend about $500 on their first camera, which is why most entry-level cameras, like the first camera I ever bought, a Nikon D3300, you know, they have their entry-level DSLRs. Canon has their entry-level cameras. Back when DSLRs were more popular, $500 was what it took to get an entry-level camera that could actually get pretty good pictures. Nowadays, with mirrorless cameras, it's actually usually more expensive than that. A $500 mirrorless camera is either going to be a couple years old, or it's just it's not going to be that great for professional use, or it's going to have some drawbacks, especially if you're buying from Canon. You know, the cripple hammer will come down hard on those cheaper cameras. But that is one thing that's great about Fuji, is you don't need to spend that much to get a really great camera, because the thing about Fuji and their business model, like Sony and Canon, they have APS-C cameras and they have full frame cameras. So obviously they want you to buy the full frame cameras, they want you to buy the full frame lenses, they want you to get into that system because it's more money. So what they do is the APS-C cameras, they only make them so good. They only make the lenses so good, so there's an incentive for you to leave their APS-C system and go over into their full frame system so they can make more money off of you as a customer in the long term. Fujifilm, they do have two different systems in terms of like sensor sizes. They have their X-mount APS-C system, but instead of having a full frame system other than that, they have medium format, which is a huge jump and, you know, prohibitively expensive for most people. But the thing is, you know, that is such a big jump that they aren't incentivizing their, you know, they're not trying to get their customers to go from their APS-C to their medium format. That's like just a whole different ball game. The use for those are just, it's just different system, different cameras. So they really have differentiated the markets and what they sell in terms of camera. Fujifilm has. So their APS-C system is great. You know, all of the cameras, at least, you know, now that we're in the 5th generation of the X-Trend sensor, they have two different versions, one with higher megapixels, one with lower megapixels but more speed. But before that, Fuji's business model was that every camera, regardless of whether it was the flagship or one of the lower level cameras, they all had the same exact sensor. So no matter what you were paying, you had the same image output, but you might be missing some features like different video features and burst rates and buffer capacities, different things that, you know, faster shooting, more professional shooting. But that doesn't even apply to the X-T3, because even though this was unofficially, you know, the XH series is their flagship series, back when they came out with the XH1, it was what, 6 months later they came out with the X-T3, and it blew the XH1, the flagship, out of the water at that time, just a couple years ago in 2018, 4 years ago, I guess, which seems crazy. But yeah, the X-T3 just blew the XH1 out of the water. It was so much better. The only thing that really draws this camera back is it doesn't have IBIS, which I have been able to live without, as you've been able to see with the, you know, multitude of examples I will hopefully be showing throughout this video. This IBIS doesn't hold this camera back. And I personally own a gimbal, and whenever I shoot video, I usually use the 18-55 kit lens, which is actually really good, and it has optical image stabilization, so that kind of makes up for the IBIS. And then oftentimes, like I said, I'm shooting on a gimbal. You know, that's up to you. I can understand not everybody wants to use a gimbal just to get a decently not shaky video with their camera, but I use this professionally, like I said, or I just shoot with my camera on a tripod. I'm filming this on a second X-T3. This isn't the only one I own. I own two of them. I own the black version and the silver version. And so why own the two different colors? Because the X-T3 looks really good. That's just, you know, there was a bunch of practical reasons at the beginning. Let's, you know, end the video off with just more aesthetic purposes. The X-T3 is just a beautiful camera, especially the silver version. This was the first one I got, and this is still my favorite. I use this one mainly for photos. I have a nice wood grip on here, which I spent way too much money for. I'm too embarrassed to even tell you. It makes the camera really a lot more comfortable to hold. The X-T3 does have kind of a small grip. It's a little bit uncomfortable with heavier lenses, so I have grips on both of mine. The silver one, like I said, yeah, I use mainly for photos, and then the black one, I have the black X-T3 as well. I have a video cage on it. That's obviously the one I use for videos. And I figure using them this way, say, you know, I could use X-T3s for the next 10 years of my life. And, you know, I always shoot mechanical shutter. Once the mechanical shutter inevitably dies in this silver camera, because I haven't used the mechanical shutter in the black one nearly as much, I can just move over to that one if I didn't want to change cameras. But I think I'll always have an X-T3, if for nothing else, a backup camera, a secondary camera to have on a tripod. I should explain why I own two X-T3s, and that's because I shoot, like I said, I shoot professional video. I sometimes need a second shot. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to own two X-T3s for many other reasons, but one time I did shoot them dual wielding them at a wedding, so it was good to have two for that purpose as well. But I've only ever shot one wedding, and it went fine, but it was a high stress kind of thing, just weddings are in general, and I don't think that's what I want to do with my photography. I prefer more just regular portraits, landscapes, events, more low-key stuff that's less stressful. But yeah, this has been, you know, a kind of rambly video. I just wanted to share my experience with the X-T3. It can do anything. If you're thinking about getting this and you're like, but the X-T4, it's newer. You don't need the X-T4. You don't need the IBIS, especially if you're talking about like a significant price increase. I bought my silver X-T3 brand new, and then I bought my black one that I use for video, my video camera. I bought it used. And at that time, which was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago that I bought the black X-T3, I think I got it for $900. And that was with shipping and tax and all that stuff included. And that's US freedom currency. It was like $900 at that time. Like I said, now I think you can get them for even like $700-800, and that's for a decent one. You could probably get a really beat up one for less, but I would say, you know, spend an extra $100 instead of getting the cheapest used one. Just my word of advice. But yes, X-T3, beautiful camera. I think I've made 2 videos on it in the past. I just needed to it's great. It's just so good. I can do anything I throw at it. If I have this on me, I'm not worried that I'm gonna miss a shot. It's just the matter of getting the right lens, which is another point. Great lens system to buy into, especially now as we're moving forward with the new linear motor lenses that are really good for video autofocus, and we're getting better video features. I'm glad it's moving in that direction, because I would have regretted buying into the Fuji system if the video wasn't going to improve, but I can see the significant steps in the right direction, which gives me confidence to stay in the system. So yeah, let me know if you have an X-T3 yourself, if you have another Fuji camera. What do you use it for? Do you use maybe like even an XE camera for professional use? I'd love to hear those stories. That sounds a little stressful to me, but yes, let me know in the comments. I love hearing other people's experiences with cameras, why they choose the system that they're in, what they use it for, because some people do really interesting stuff that not a lot of other people do, and that's just cool to hear about. So leave a like if you enjoyed. Like I said, check in with me in the comments. Of course, it always helps the channel as well. And thank you again to Shadows Eds for sponsoring this video. You can find the link to it in the description. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. See you in the next one, guys. Peace.